And with
All
that,
right.
I'm going to let you fly and have at it. I'm just going to leave it open. There's not that many people on, so everybody can kind of talk. If you talk and you hear somebody else speaking and you're talking over them, kind of be polite and listen, and this will all work well. Chad Corbett, go get him, big boy.
All right. So, guys, welcome to the 18th Mastermind call. This is Thursday, the 26th of March, 2015. And as always, this will be posted to the Facebook page once I get out of the Tennessee mountains and back to my desk. We always like to start these calls, and I know, Allison, this is your first live call, but we always try to start them with a testimony or a kind of a win for the week. And
Okay.
Jim had the best win, I think, of all of us for the week, and unfortunately he can't make it. So I'm going to try. I'll probably not get all the details, but so Jim just does a single letter and a single voice blast, not even a ringless voicemail, kind of what you and I talked about yesterday, Allison.
Mhm.
And so, anyways, he just went through one round of a campaign. He got a phone call. He went to the listing. He listed the house, the vacant lot, and then the lady said, "Well, I've got a house in the next street over. Do you want to list that?" And he said, "Yep, I'll list that." And the brother said, "Well, I've got a fourplex 2 blocks away. You want to list that?" "Yep, I'll list that." So he was able to get 4 listings off of one phone call, and was the only person there. And this is in South Florida, in Fort Lauderdale market,
Wow.
where it's super competitive. So that's the good win for the week. Jim got a really, really solid listing portfolio on one appointment, and it probably cost him a couple of bucks to make his round of calls. I think maybe $50 to do a round of recorded calls. So that's the win for the week. If anyone else has any, I don't know who all's on the call, if any of our veterans are here, but okay. Well, moving on. The next thing we try to see is, if anyone has any choke points, anywhere you're having challenges or don't understand anything, is there anything that we can help you with, or anyone else on the call can help you with?
We're okay because we're just starting, so we're just trying to absorb as much information as possible.
Okay. Well, like I told you guys yesterday, start with why, get that in place, get your team members in place, and then work on your mail strategy. Did you find all the letters and get a chance to review all those?
Yes, we did, and I think Maxine liked the last 3. So I think we're just going to go ahead and follow that format.
Okay, good.
And then I think actually, because she's pretty good on the phone, and I don't mind calling people myself, so I think at first we're definitely going to try to reach out to them individually.
Okay, well, great. That's what we find. A couple of our members who do live calls and do a good job of tracking, like David Bryant in South Carolina. He has about a 10-to-1 ratio for appointments. So if he makes 10 phone calls, he typically gets a listing appointment and takes the listing. We've also seen the same thing in other areas on the West Coast. So hopefully it's like that for you guys. So I think you said you had about 150 in your list, or 100 and some.
Yeah, I reviewed the most recent list, but Maxine has subscribed since December, so we're going to start, back there, probably December, January, and move forward, and do those first. So I'm not sure how many total are on those 2 lists, but it looks like maybe, at least on our newest list, there's at least 50 or something, so I'm assuming maybe it's double that or maybe more. Who knows? But
well, good.
Hey,
and
Chad, how often do you? Chad.
Yeah.
Sorry. How often do you find that the people who are the personal representatives for the folks that we're contacting, how often do you find them having a higher level of motivation for moving a property in a specific time frame than a normal listing? Is that a normal thing to see in a probate?
Almost all of mine are like that. It's the more heirs there are, the more motivation there is, regardless of how much equity is in the home. That doesn't matter. it's almost like if you get one where there are 4 or 5 siblings, you can pretty much bet the executor is living hell, because she's not only trying to manage her own life, she's been appointed to unravel someone who deeply trusted her, to unravel their estate and distribute things fairly, and all eyes are on her. The court's looking at her, the siblings are looking at her, or him, and they just want out of it. So I would say more than 50% of mine just say, I don't care, I'll list it at whatever price you tell me, just get it sold. And I sometimes get in trouble because I sell them too fast. And I don't underprice, I just price at the market. And we get multiple offers because we sometimes go 5% under market because it has a deferred maintenance. And then once you get two or three buyer's agents working against each other, which is uncommon in our market, but if you can get it to happen, you can really drive prices. So I would say 100% of mine have been highly motivated, and I think that has a lot to do with who actually responds to the message. If they're not highly motivated, that letter probably didn't strike a chord with them, and they probably just hired their, Billie Jean from church, who's been a realtor for 40 years and sold 7 houses. And that's... Sorry.
How do you ask that question about, like, how many heirs there are or things like that? How do you pose that question to them, like, specifically?
It's all part of... So if you remember yesterday, I said a lot of this is asking the right questions in the right order, and it's all part of my interview. So the first thing I do is get my value statement out there and let them know why I reached out, and that I'm not, like, I want them to know what I do and why I called. And once that kind of breaks down the walls and you start to build rapport, the next part is I start to ask about the situation. I don't even care about the house. Until I've built rapport and have a full understanding of how I can help them, I could care less about the house. So we talk about the situation first. Well, Mr. Seller, really glad you called. We specialize in this for a reason. It really starts with us understanding what your goals are and knowing how we can help you, whether that's from bringing you a quick cash offer or doing a full-blown flip on the house. I'd like to understand where you are and then make some suggestions. Does that sound good? And they always say yes. And from there, I learn about the situation. So tell me, I understand you're the executor. Are you the only executor, or are there co-executors on the estate? Usually they'll say, well, I'm the only executor, but I have a brother. I'm like, all right, well, great. Do you want to make sure that your other siblings are part of this conversation from now on? And they sometimes will say no. I always try to bring it back. I always try to get everyone to the appointment.
Right.
I won't go on a listing appointment unless all the heirs are there, or they have gotten on the phone with me and said, Chad, I don't care. I don't need to be there. Because if you go with just the executor and there's 3 other siblings that work that afternoon, they are going to feel bamboozled. They're going to feel like they don't know what's going on. They're not going to trust you, and they're going to they'll burn that transaction at some point. It might be 3/4 of the way through it, but they're going to mess it up. So I do a real good job of finding out who the decision makers are, who is also involved, like, and who stands to get money, and I try to get them all there. And then once I get past that, I kind of talk about, well, tell me about the condition of the home. Is there a mortgage on it? Those are key questions. The condition of the home. If it hasn't, a good question to ask is, when was the last time the home was remodeled or updated? Was it in the last 5 years, 10 years? If they say no, you typically, in my market at least, you typically have a home that hasn't been touched since probably the 70s or 80s. If there have been upgrades, it's going to be fresh in their mind, and they'll say it immediately. So in my market, these homes are typically, they're very, very clean, but they're dated. So they have, hardwood floors and like custom built brick homes from back in the 40s, 50s, 60s. And they've been taken care of. They're just not modern.
Right.
And that's why we. But anyway, so after I understand the situation, I understand their motivation, then I look at what I can do for them. So I can bring them a quick cash offer. and just buy the house and close in 2 weeks and pay their closing costs. I can help them get the personal property sold and get cleaned out what's not of value. I can help them by staging the home, painting the home, painting the front door, doing some landscaping. What I always suggest to people, figure out the 10 top things that you can do to a home for less than $1,000 that will help you sell it for a higher price. They get you the best return on investment. Things like painting the front door, painting, landscaping, staging. Those are all things that are, $200, $300, $400, $500 that can really catapult the listing price or the velocity that you can actually get buyers in and get offers. So know those things and have those as kind of arrows in your quiver, because it differentiates you from the next person. So they're going to say, well, my God, that realtor showed me how I could spend $500 and sell it for $5,000 more. Let's go with her.
Right.
But it's all about just proving to them that there's no one better to do this, to help them out of this situation. So, and then once I've kind of made my suggestion, once I've learned all that, what I do, I say, well, listen, there's no doubt that I can help you, and I think that my highest and best help to you is going to be X, Y, or Z, whatever my suggestion is. And that's either as a listing agent, a buyer's agent bringing a cash offer, or as kind of a consultant and listing agent to get the most money in the quickest amount of time. And then I say, okay, well, so Mr. Smith, I've got a time. It looks like I could do Friday at 2 or maybe at 5. Which of those works best for you? And they'll pick one. Okay, so can you do me a favor? And we're going to make this tentative for now, but can you get in touch with each of your siblings or each of the heirs and make sure that they can all be there? I'm going to go ahead and put it on the calendar. I'll do my research and be ready to, we'll meet at the home. But I want to make sure that everybody can be there. If not, call me back and we'll reschedule this time. I don't ever let them get off the phone without setting the tentative appointment, because as Tim Yandel says, the be-back bus never comes back. So while you've got the conversation and you've built rapport, you want to get the appointment. And then if one of the brothers or sisters has to work or go out of town or something, they can always call you back and reschedule, but they've made a commitment to you. And then once you've gotten that commitment and you've gotten the appointment in your calendar, you say, okay, so I've got you down for Friday at 5. Mr. Seller, if it's all right with you, I'd like to ask you a few more questions just to kind of learn a little bit more about the house, so I can, give you a fair evaluation. Does that sound good? Yeah, okay. And then I just move into like a seller counseling interview. So it's, what's the square footage? What's the number of bedrooms and baths? What's your favorite thing about the house? Are there any repairs that you think would need to be done before in order to sell the home? Are you willing to put any money into the home? If we would find things like peeling paint on the fascia and soffits would stop an FHA loan. Are you willing to fix little things like that? Are you willing to fix big things like upgrade the electrical service, replace the roof? And just find out where they're at. And then when you go to do your analysis, your CMA or your market absorption analysis, you'll know whether you have to comp it as is or if you can comp it as a newly renovated home. Because if they're willing to put $20,000 or $30,000 into it, and you can walk them through the process, introduce them to your contractors, and then have basically a brand new remodeled listing to sell, they're going to be super loyal to you because you just made them a ton of money. So I learn as much as I can about the house after the appointment. And then I hang up and say, I'll see you there at 5. And then what I do is do a pretty in-depth analysis, and I could talk for a day on that, so I won't get that deep into it. But
sure.
I always ask them in closing to bring everything that the probate clerk gave them. So I say, do you have a list of heirs? Do you have the list of assets and list of debts, things like that? Why don't you just go ahead and bring that, the death certificate? Why don't you bring that to the appointment? That way, if there's any questions about anything that you need help with, I might be able to help you out. I'm not an attorney and I'm not a probate clerk, but I do have a lot of experience with this. And that just helps. It helps me. There's 2 reasons for that. So one reason for that is I'm adding another layer of value. I'm offering free help and be a sounding board, someone to hear to hear them out, and hear their frustrations, what their challenges are, and maybe help them with that. The other reason is I want to see a death certificate. I want to see the list of heirs, and I want to see the list of assets. because that's a shortcut to me going to the courthouse and doing a full title search. Like if I know that they don't have a list of heirs, then there could be someone 2 generations back attached to this house, and we're not going to find out until we're at the closing table, and then it becomes a problem. And then you have to hunt that person down a lot of times by U.S. mail and hope like heck that they call you back, and that can delay closing for weeks. Ask me how I know. So I want to know who's involved, who's getting, if anyone is entitled to anything from this sale, I need to know who they are, and that if they're dead, I need to have a copy of their death certificate as well. And that's something I've just learned through hitting snags and title work. So but I try to get them to bring that stuff to the appointment. And then after that, we hang up the phone, we do our analysis. I always meet them at the house, so we can kind of walk through and I can look at stuff. I have them give me a tour, tell me their favorite thing about it, ask a few more questions, and then we kind of go into the listing presentation, which I could speak a bit on that as well. But that's kind of how my process works, and I've yet to actually get shot down for one of these. Knock on wood. I've turned down several just because the homes were in so bad condition that and they had an unrealistic number, and I said, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to do business together. I can't help you at that price.
Do you turn down any just because you can tell already it's going to be a complicated situation? Like
no, I actually kind of like those.
Okay.
I kind of take pride in being able, we've had ones where we had 8 siblings who didn't talk to each other, and 3 of them had passed away, and the other ones didn't even know about it. And that was the biggest damn mess I've ever seen. But I've got a really great attorney that keeps a cool head, and it keeps everybody calmed down, and honestly, we kind of have fun with it. It's I don't know. I guess it's the investigator in me. I like to dig into it and fix the problem. Right. I like being able to figure things out that no one else can or is willing to.
Right.
So I don't shy away from really anything unless it's price. I won't take an overpriced listing. Period. That's usually the only reason I'll reject a client is because they're just toxically negative or they have unrealistic price expectations. Otherwise, we take them all.
Right. That makes sense. Do a lot of them, do you find that a lot of people that you talk to, not a lot, but is there enough that they think they know how much it is and how much they should get? Or not really?
Most people don't know how to value real estate, so they hang their hat on the tax assessment. So that would be an objection or a script that you should get used to using. Get used to know what market value is compared to tax value in your neighborhood and your area. In my area, it can be as much as 15% high. Excuse me. The tax assessment can be 15% lower than market value, or it could be 40% higher than market value, depending on. And this is in a 3-mile radius, That's how, literally on the other side of the railroad track, it's a different world. So usually most, people, I always ask them first. I'm like, do you have any idea what the home is worth? Have you guys had an appraisal? No? Well,
right.
What would you like to get? What do you think it's worth? Well, it's tax assessed at $150, and that it should be worth that. I'm like, yeah, it very well could be, Mr. Seller. Typically what we see in our market, homes that are selling at tax assessment have been fully updated, new roof, new windows, new mechanicals. So it's essentially, the state, the county doesn't get inside and look at your home, so they just assume that it's at the highest quality, highest level of construction.
Right.
So, a 1950s house would be assessed the same as a 2014 house. But obviously you understand, Mr. Seller, that those are different valuations, right? And get a yes, and that's a trial close, and you're easing into the education and telling them that, listen, it's not worth tax assessment. If you just say that, you'll burn the floor. But if you kind of walk them through a series of trial closes and get them to slowly understand, all right, so a house that's built last year is obviously not worth what Mom's house was because it still has a pink toilet and pink tile and, shag carpets. So you get used to that, and really that's our job anyway as real estate professionals, to give them the tools to be able to value it. And what I do is it's a market absorption analysis. So I look at 2 years worth of data. I look at expired, pending, sold, and active, and I go back 2 years. And really what that gives me kind of a 360-degree view. So not only am I just looking at what sold, more importantly to me, I'm looking at what expired, because that's a great indication of what homes are not worth. I'm looking at what is active, because that's what I'm currently competing with. And I spend a lot of time looking at the absorption rate and the days on market, and really helping them not only price the home right, but position it best within our competition and the pending and actives. And so it's like I said, I could probably do a 4-hour course on how I do it.
Luckily where we are, it's good, so we shouldn't have much problem with that. I mean, there's a buyer usually for anything, so that's good.
Yeah. For you, you're like, I don't know, let's just put $1 million sign in the yard. We'll probably get somebody by lunch.
Yeah. So what have you found are your biggest objections, or not really? Once you get them talking, it goes pretty well. Is that what you're saying?
The biggest objection that I've gotten is I don't need help. I don't need a realtor. You sent me a letter. I don't know why you would send me a letter. I don't need help doing that. And I think, I don't know, it's almost like a defense mechanism. Like they're calling you to tell you they don't need help. And to me, it's just like a cry for help. It's like, he needs help, but he doesn't want to admit it. So, and I'll just ease into that conversation. I'm like, listen, I can appreciate that. We reach out because we offer, we can help a lot of people, and we don't get paid anything until we do exactly what we say. So don't feel like you're risking anything to get advice. If there's any way I can help you, then hopefully I can do that. If you decide you don't want to do business with a realtor, that's fine with me. I won't send you an invoice. So you called for a reason. And usually you can break down those walls. Like I said yesterday, get that 20 or 30 seconds of the conversation is vital, because you want them to know why you're calling, how you got their information. I always say, listen, we periodically pull public data and reach out to a part of the community that we know we can help, because we know there's no one better for the job. And that usually melts, it breaks down any walls. A good story, a lady called me off of a ringless voicemail, and she called to tell me that she didn't need my help. She had it on the market herself for 6 months, and it was doing just fine. I said, ma'am, I respectfully disagree that it's just fine. I said, if you've been on the market in 6 months, and you're in the second highest sales volume zip code in our entire city. And she was like, well, I don't know what you mean. I don't need help. I know what I'm doing. I said, well, I understand. So let me just help you understand why I reached out to you and what value I can provide, and then you tell me if we're done, or if you think that you might want to meet up and get a little bit of help. And she finally let her guard down after I talked for a little bit. I listed the house that evening. Like, she was very apprehensive when she showed up, and by the time we left, like, she was my best friend. And in 30 minutes, I listed the house. 4 days later, I sell the house. And she calls me back. She's like, well, what are you doing? What do you mean you sold that? Yeah, that's too soon. I got in trouble for selling the house in 4 days, because our median days on market is 94 days. And I sold hers in 4 because we priced it right. Like, I looked at all the competition, and there were homes that were in better condition at like 110. We put hers at 1025, and we sold it in a heartbeat. But so anyways, now it's like a running joke. She's like, I didn't need your help. But listen, I'm high maintenance. Can you answer this question for me? And she needs help. She was reaching out because she didn't know what to do. Her brother had leverage on her. He's trying to get the money, his part of the money. And there's no legal obligation for her to do this quick, but there's that social pressure to get this done, to get him off her back. And we did exactly what we said we would, and we'll close it up, and I think it closes next week. So,
do you find that a lot of your clients are children and brothers and sisters and stuff like that, and that the parent has owned the house for a long time, and they have like a sentimental connection to it, or not really? Is it all?
It depends on where you are. It's for me, it's different in the county than it is in the city. So, like in a rural area, there's going to be a lot more sentimental value, and a lot of times those properties don't even sell. You'll see it come through as a $0 transfer because it's staying in the family. In the city, people typically don't care. They see the home as a liability because someone has to mow the yard, someone has to take care of the maintenance, someone has to get all the stuff out of it, and it's just a problem. But yeah, 99% of them are siblings. I've had one occasion where a mother inherited her daughter's house, and that's always tough to see. Like nobody wants to go on that, but she's a very nice lady, and she had a condo.
I actually went through that myself, so I'm not I lost a younger brother, so I feel like I could get through that objection easily.
Yeah. So you're typically going to be dealing with middle-aged kids, and they typically don't have much ties to the real estate because they have homes of their own, children of their own,
Right.
And they just need to. And honestly, most of the people we deal with, time is more important than money. So it's not about getting the most amount for the house. It's about getting a fair value quickly, and just getting it behind them. So.
Well, that's really great advice so far. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if anyone else showed up. Are there any other questions? Anybody have anything that's challenging them right now? Or?
Yes, this is Lydia, Texas, Round Rock.
Yeah. Hey, Lydia.
Well, I got my first call back, and it took about 20 minutes to actually get to the person who was representing the family. The lady that called was a friend of the family, and the young man didn't want to talk to me. So I finally did get to speak to him, and he has 4 other siblings, and they're not interested. So I'm going to wait a week and call him back, or should I call him back sooner? Any advice on that?
Why? So did you get an understanding of why they don't want to talk to you?
No, it's the siblings that don't. He spoke to me, and he was after a while he was pretty friendly and interested as to what was going on and how I could help him. And then he said he'd call me back, and he called back and he said no, they don't want to meet. They don't want anything to do with it. They want to sell it by themselves. And I said okay. Then and then I didn't know what to say. I mean, I was stumped.
Okay, so a couple of things. Statistically, and this is an NAR statistic, on average, a for sale by owner is going to sell for, and double check me, but I'm pretty sure it's right around 14 to 18% less than a realtor and being involved in the deal. So you got to look at what their mindset is. Think of them as FSBOs from this point, because if the objection is not, we don't want to sell, we want to sell on our own, it's a whole different conversation. So if this is the story I just told was a for sale by owner, 6 months, no offers, 2 showings from buyers without realtors who probably didn't have a chance of ever qualifying for a loan because they'd never even thought about it. They just wanted to see houses. And so you got to find the pain points of selling a home yourself. The pain points are there's a huge education curve. So not only do you have to worry about the liability, you have to figure out how to write the contract, how to manage the inspection process, how to renegotiate with the buyer after the inspection, how to get title work ordered and do all that stuff. So the logistics of a real estate transaction are stressful as hell. That's how we do what we do. The other thing is they're going to get less money. Statistically, they are going to sell it for less because they will sit on the market for a long time with their head in the sand on price, typically, from what I see. And then someone's going to come by and make them an offer at the right time. It's going to hurt just enough, and they'll get it for a much lower price. And buyers Buyers who look at for sale by owner homes, those are savvy buyers. They know how to negotiate. They know how to beat people up. That's why they're looking at FSBOs. They're cheap too. They don't want to pay a realtor. They want to get the best deal. And that's why they typically sell for much less. So I would go back and with the one here that you have rapport with and just follow up and say, find a reason to touch him, find a reason to reach somehow that you can provide value to him first. Just say, hey, I drove by the house today and really great neighborhood. I went ahead and ran without knowing all the details, I went ahead and ran a CMA, and I wanted to see if you guys would just want to sit down and talk about it. I'm willing to help any way I can. I've worked with a lot of people who've sold their home with me after they tried to sell it on their own for 6 months, and I see it where people thin, and I see it really put a lot of pressure on families. So if there's any way I can help you guys, I'm not going to charge a dime unless I do exactly what I say I'll do. And try to get that appointment. Try to give them enough value that they'll actually give you a chance face to face, and then I think they'll come around. Like just understand what their mindset is. They're thinking they want to get the most amount of money out of the estate, which is great. So they probably, I would guess they need help pricing the home, but you've got to do it in such a way that you're offering them a service, not challenging their price. And so offer it as a free consultation and just say, listen, there's no risk to you guys whatsoever. You're going to have a real estate expert sit down and give you free advice. If we decide to do business together, I'll get paid after I've done what I told you I would do. If not, no hard feelings. And it's pretty hard for anyone to reject that if they really did want to sell the house.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks for all the good questions and participating today. We will try to post this. I'll post this on the Facebook page probably early next week. I am going to be off grid for the next 4 or 5 days in the Smokies. But thanks for everybody showing up. And as always, let us know if you have any questions before next week.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.